The Hard Count is presented by BetMGM. As y'all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this college football season. We'll be using their lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for all of you each week. Now, when you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use bonus code HARDCOUNT, and you'll get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code HARDCOUNT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. Step 3, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code HARDCOUNT when you sign up. Let's make this college football season 1 for the books. Let's make it legendary. Let's get to the show. Welcome into the Hard Counts, the college football show for people who watch college football even when their favorite team is on a bye week. Welcome in. The show is for you if you're a college football sicko. As always, presented by BetMGM. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet, so we're going to make it a good one. Hey, we got a ton to jump into on this show. We already gave you our college football playoff predictions 2.0 on yesterday's show, so another reason to subscribe and make sure you're locked into all things ball year-round on this show, The Hard Count. But we got a couple of things to unpack on today's show. Got some more predictions for you when it comes to some more finer points that we want to make before we move into the second half of the college football season. Also got a game prediction for you in A&M Arkansas. Y'all asked for that, so you got it. As always, we'll have superlatives at the end of today's show, but I want to start with a buzz phrase that you're about to hear a lot about here as we move into college football playoff reveal shows. You know, Tuesday nights, you're watching college basketball, hoping those games end sooner rather than later so you can hear Reese Davis in that sweet voice just give you something to look forward to when it comes to the playoff picture. But one phrase you're going to hear a lot is eye test. Well, this team, they passed. What is the eye test really? Do you know? I don't really know, but I do know we have a ranking of 5 teams that right now, for me, are majoring in the eye test. So if you disagree with this, that's okay, because we have different sets of eyeballs. So your eye test is going to be different than my eye test. But I want to give this precursor before we get to that whole eye test discussion down the line here. This is the framework I want us to have before we move forward here. So my eye test top 5, it's more art than science. We don't apologize for this. Starting with our 5th ranked team, according to the eye test, strictly the eye test, is Alabama. All right, now for Alabama, to me, it's the firepower plus the game control. This is not to reference too many statistics because, of course, it is about what your eyeballs say, but my eyeballs, when I watch Alabama, say they've had the ball for a long time. And you go check your eyeballs, and exactly, Alabama has had the football for a long time against both Vandy, Georgia, and Missouri, 3 teams that major in controlling the football. Alabama had the ball for 35-plus minutes in all 3 of those games. So you have that part of it, and you pair it with the firepower that Ty Simpson and that offense possesses. We said it during our prediction show for the Bama-Tennessee game. You're watching Bama do what they do against Missouri, and maybe it's just a me thing, but I didn't even really notice that Ryan Williams hadn't touched the football. I get he's dinged up. I get it's a thing where he's being used a little bit more sparingly and all. I understand that. I understand all that, but still I was like, Ty Simpson's, even with the pressure he's getting, spinning it. It's the high gear moments you see from their offense that makes you feel excited about what they're going to be here down the stretch. Any game that Alabama gets into, they can do game control, they can do firepower, pick your poison. Alabama, based on what my eyes tell me, number 5 in the entire country as of right now. Now, number 4, if you don't think Indiana's good at football, that's on you, dude. That's on you. Like, I saw them go out there against Oregon, one of the best rosters in college football, and play matchup ball and win their matchup routinely to then get a win in Autzen, one of the toughest places in college football to play. Fernando Mendoza, I've said it many times, I'll say it again, delivers tremendous passes as well as wholesome interviews. 2 things he majors in, and that has allowed Indiana to be as good as they are. Now, if you were to go to resume, this is not a resume ranking. A lot of people do that. We're not doing that right now. If you were to go to resume and give Indiana credit for the teams they have beaten, they spanked a top 10 Illinois team when they played them, and they just beat a top 3 Oregon team at their place, which, again, if we're going off eye test, you don't take that too much into account, but your eyeballs do tell you the team they're playing is pretty freaking good in Oregon and what Illinois was when they played them. Indiana made light work of, really, to be honest, both those teams. Now, is Oregon a team that we're thinking less of because of how they looked against Indiana? I don't think that should be the case when you talk about the Ducks, but still, based on what my eyes tell me, the physicality Indiana plays with, the personnel they have on the perimeter, how good they are on defense, the way they got after Dante Moore. My eyes tell me Indiana's a top 5 team in college football. I have them number 3 in my rankings because we're factoring in resume as well. But Indiana, they're a wagon, and if you think differently, I don't think you're really watching the Hoosiers. Ohio State is number 3 to me. Ohio State, we picked yesterday to win the national championship. Spoiler alert. So this isn't me talking down on Ohio State. Some of this is I'm waiting for the offense to open it up even more. But when you see the offense open it up, they look freaking awesome. We just haven't seen as much of that to this point, which is no fault of their own. Had 3 drives against Illinois that were 35 yards or less. So we're not opening it up when we have that kind of game flow going our way for the Buckeyes. On top of that, why would you open it up? The defense is electric. It's borderline comical what they're doing on the goal line to teams. Again, going off our eyes, not going off the numbers. Illinois is running trick plays where they hand the ball off to a back who's lined up as a fullback, who then goes into the option, who pitches it out to that running back. That's what it takes to score inside the 5 against Ohio State. Eye test. Again, that to me feels pretty telling as to the level of just suffocation they're operating with on the defensive side. And then you go back to the offensive side and you say, okay, well, when we do see them go a little bit into a higher gear offensively, Jeremiah Smith, once again, checking that eye test of, probably the best pound-for-pound talent in college football. Oh, by the way, Carnell Tate, he's a freak show. Julian Sayin doesn't look like he's a first-year starting quarterback out there. Now, they're calling it for him like he's a first-year starting quarterback, which is something we'll touch on a little bit later in the show as to how good he's eventually going to be. But he doesn't look like he's out there half-stepping by any stretch of the imagination. When he throws the football, it is with conviction. The Minnesota game is a great example of this. Whether it was that corner shot where he throws it to Jeremiah Smith in the end zone, that was a ball he put on a freaking frozen rope. Whether it was the deep shot to Carnell Tate where he's not breaking stride. Whether it's the goal line fade to Jeremiah Smith against Illinois. Like all these things that I see Julian Sayin do, it looks routine for him. Now, is it going to be routine the rest of the way? It's going to have to be if you want to win the national championship, but I don't have any hesitations about how good Julian Sayin is going to be because of the small sample size I've gotten where he's pushing the ball downfield. He looks freaking good doing it. Very quietly, Ohio State, top 15 in America when it comes to yards per pass. Again, very quiet, very hush-hush, but it is what it is, Ohio State. For me right now, top 3 in America when it comes to the eye test. They will finish higher than that based on what I project them to do if we continue to give you these eye test rankings. Now, I understand we'll get some pushback on this. That's more than fine. If you watch Texas Tech play football, they look like a top 2 team in the country. Texas Tech is number 2 in my eye test rankings. The closest game they've had has been 24 points. Again, in favor of the Red Raiders. Both of the games they've won by 24 points, which is their smallest margin of victory, have been against undefeated teams at their place. At Utah, 24 points. At Houston, 24 points. Every other game has been much more boring than that. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They have legitimate firepower. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. They have the number 1 rush defense in America, giving up less than 3 yards a carry. Those numbers are supporting what I'm already seeing in that front 7. The way they're just bullying teams up front. You say, JD, well, it's the Big 12. It's the Big 12, but Utah's also a bully. Utah also has one of the top offensive line prospects in this upcoming draft. Like, Utah's not a slouch on the offensive side of the football in the trenches, and Texas Tech bullied up front. So my eyes tell me Texas Tech, the margin of victory, the play style, the versatility. I have them number 2 when it comes to the eye test right now, according to our eye test rankings that are, again, more art than science, but we don't apologize for that. Texas Tech, to me right now, number 2 in America based on what my eyes tell me. Now, number 1 in my eye test rankings also happen to be the Miami Hurricanes, which are number 1 in my nothing but ball rankings. When I just watch Miami play football, take the resume out of it. The Florida game is, I think, a good win when you got it. I think the win over Florida State was a good win when you got it. The win over Notre Dame, a good win when you got it. All that, I think, is true. But with that being said, take the logos off the teams they're playing. I feel like I'm watching a Nat Geo documentary. I mean, it's just absolute physicality. It is domination. It is tenacity. It is all those things. It is big bodies moving other big bodies on the other line of scrimmage. It is just, it's ridiculous, dude. It is domination. Francis Mauanoa, Ruben Bain, Mario Cristobal compared them at practice going one-on-one to Jurassic Park, which it looks Jurassic Park-ish whenever they're out there against the opposition. The way that they're able to play physically up front in the trenches, and then on the other side of that, have a legitimate deep passing game with Carson Beck and Tony and all the weapons. They're so versatile. They've been so dominant up front, and then also the filter of the teams they've played to this point. Say what you want about Florida, still a good line of scrimmage team. And don't just listen to what Cristobal says, listen to what Elko says, listen to what Brian Kelly says. Like, those are legitimately talented trench units that Florida's working with. Miami made them look pretty pedestrian. Snatched their soul in the fourth quarter. The win over Notre Dame. We'll see what Notre Dame is here down the stretch. Also still super freaking talented. It's the filter plus the way it looks. Obviously, with it being the eye test rankings, Miami to me is number one in our eye test rankings through 7 weeks of the college football season. So Miami at 1, Tech at 2, Ohio State at 3, Indiana at 4, and Alabama at 5. And our eye test top 5 as it stands right now through 7 weeks of the college football season. But get at me on the socials. Let me know your thoughts there. Let me know where you disagree or agree. I might just post a graphic on my socials so we can have a full back and forth about it. But let me know your thoughts. Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Looking forward to hearing from y'all on there. Now, a game prediction that y'all asked for is Texas A&M and Arkansas. Very important to know. If you want to get some game predictions from us, read the comment section. Toxic and all. We read all the things that y'all are saying in the comment section. So if you want some more game breakdowns, let us know in there. And if we get a high enough frequency of requests for a game, we're going to give it to you. So A&M at Arkansas. This game is no longer being played in Jerry World. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN. 7.5-point favorite are the Aggies on the road. Interesting. Very interesting. My question for A&M, are you the same team on the road that you were at home? Because you look great against Auburn. You look great in the second half against Mississippi State. You were a unit at home, but you went on the road against Notre Dame. We saw y'all, and it was a great offensive showing, but the defense a little bit touch and go, okay? Does that same defensive unit that we saw in South Bend show up against Arkansas? Because if that's the case now, things get very interesting. That 7.5-point spread, Arkansas might not just cover that. They might win outright. Go ahead and ask Tennessee how tough it is to play Arkansas in Arkansas. Not this year, but last year when they went to Fayetteville and how that whole thing shook out. Field storming out there in Fayetteville. Now for Arkansas, my question is, does that Tennessee game that you played last week, where you lost by a score, I'm sure in some ways it was a little bit of a deflating Sunday morning out there for the good folks in Hog Country, does that game ignite a, oh, we're so close kind of feeling? Hey, let's keep going. Let's keep pressing the envelope here. We got Bobby Petrino running the show here. We want him to be our head coach again. Let's really push this thing for Coach Petrino and get over the hump and go get a big win over a top 10 A&M team? Or is it more of a deflation feeling of, well, screw it. Now we're 2-4. The head coach that we had going into the year is already fired. Miss you, Pit Boss. We got 4 ranked opponents. Our next 6 games, like, screw this. We were so close, didn't break our way. Could have been 500. Now we're 2-4. I'm out. And we just see Arkansas kind of wave the white flag. Now, from what I know about Taylor Green and from the momentum I saw from them against Tennessee, I'd be a little bit surprised if that happened. But neither here nor there. We're about to find out in this game what kind of juice Arkansas plays with at home. And again, it being at home, I think, will serve them well in this spot. But if you want to be at this game, you're an Arkansas fan or you're a Texas A&M fan making the trip out to Fayetteville, I hope you bought tickets with Game Time. They're the fast, easy, safe, effective way to buy tickets. You can buy tickets last minute. If you want to get to this thing on Saturday morning and you're watching the ticket prices drop on Game Time, you say, okay, maybe I want to get there. Game Time, a great way to do that. Also, if you want to know the view from your seat before you buy, it's a great usage with Game Time and the services they offer. So if you want to save some money, though, buying tickets, take the guesswork out of buying tickets, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code HARDCOUNT, HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code HARDCOUNT, swipe, tap, ticket, download the Game Time app today. $20 off your first purchase when you use code HARDCOUNT. As always, terms apply. So I'm curious to watch here in this spot. Texas A&M and what they forced those safeties to do of Arkansas. Because if you go back and watch the Tennessee game, Tennessee, by nature of how they align with the wide splits and the way Joey Aguilar's pushing the ball downfield, those safeties pretty deep. Okay, now when your safeties are aligned deep, what can't they do effectively? Play the run game. A&M lost Le'Veon Moss, at least for this game, and it looks like for, according to Mike Elko, a, quote, significant period of time. So Ruben Owens, baby, lion's share of those carries coming to you. Are you getting the rock and seeing those safeties at like 10, 12 yards? Or are they a little bit more aggressive, getting the trigger in the run game, toes are at 8 yards, and it's a little bit more of a, not tough sledding, but physical sledding, to say the least. The way that A&M would force those safeties to stay deep, because they're not going to play the Josh Heupel style of offense where they align out to the tick marks of the sideline, they're going to, though, I think, early on in this game, Colin Klein and co., take some daddy hacks. We said this in the game against Mississippi State and the game against Florida when we broke those things down. Mario Craver is a speed freak on the perimeter. Going into last weekend, top 10 in America when it just came to receiving yards, period. No qualifier of, the SEC or in the last couple, just period. Across the country, Mario Craver, top 10 in receiving yards. On top of that, Casey Concepcion can get busy. So, assuming those guys are ready to rock and roll, if you're able to apply some pressure early and attack this, quite frankly, gettable Arkansas secondary, just takes one or two to make that defense a little bit extra, on their heels, nervous, anxious, however you want to phrase it. Because if you get got one time, man, you're thinking about it for the next couple of quarters. So I'm imagining a world now where Marcel Reed comes out guns blazing on the road. We don't care. We were on the road against Notre Dame, and we went, yard big time in that game to Mario Craver. I could see them pushing it deep early, having success doing that. And then when that happens, light box, anxious secondary, Ruben Owens, downhill, bad intentions, game blouses. This thing gets ugly. A&M covers 7.5, quick, fast, and in a hurry. However, Arkansas holds their water a little bit. Some competitive plays. Heck, you draw a pass interference penalty once or twice. I'm not mad at you, Arkansas. If they can just hold their water early in this spot, safeties get to be a little bit more friendly in run support, get to have a little bit less anxiety with what happens on the back end. If you do that now, this thing, again, becomes more interesting because you also would like to think, if that's the world if you live in, if you're Arkansas, get a couple of stops early, and guess who you give the football back to? Your boy Taylor Green, who's been awesome this year. Was awesome against Tennessee. Has it been a little bit of a, I don't want to say roller coaster, but has it been perfect this year? No, it's why you're 2-4. But Taylor Green and what this offense has done has been quietly one of the better offenses in the SEC. They are number 2 in all of college football in yards per carry. They are number 3 in America in third down conversion rate. Why is that important? I want to go back to what I already referenced during this segment. The Tennessee game, not last week, but last year. When you won in Fayetteville, you stormed the field, vibes were immaculate. How did you win that game? Well, you controlled the football for 35 minutes. That's one part of this. So Nico and Josh Heupel and co., they weren't able to push the ball deep and have the explosive plays. That's one part of it. The other thing is you held on and didn't have to do that much offensively when it came to point total. You put your defense in favorable positions. So last year you beat Tennessee when they were ranked, whatever they were ranked, scored 19 points. Now, I think it'll take more than 19 points to beat A&M, but I think that same path to a victory at home exists here for Arkansas. So hold your water early on the back end. Don't let it become a shootout. And then possess the football. Do what you've already done this year. Convert third downs. Be great on the ground. If you go watch what they did against Tennessee, it was a thing of beauty if you're a play caller. They were running some read option with 2 lead blockers. They were running downhill. Arkansas has got to go right at A&M here. Can't be the whole east-west, put the ball in the perimeter and try to get too cute. A&M's too good up front and too good as a defense for that to be the way that you live. What they do against Torian York, I would imagine trying to either read him or lead block up on him, going downhill, going north and south consistently, that will be a massive part of this game. Now, the biggest part of this game to me, when Arkansas has the football, outside of the whole converting third downs and possessing the football, I'm excited to watch the battle against the Arkansas receiving corps, against this A&M secondary, in those ad-lib plays, those broken plays, because Taylor Green, I think he's going to kind of get his to some extent here. And I don't mean he runs for 100 yards, but I don't think you just totally contain Taylor Green in this spot at home where you would hope you get a juiced-up Arkansas. I think he's going to do what he does on the ground and have at least a play or two where he gashes you. That doesn't concern me if I'm A&M. What concerns me is he gashes us a little bit early. We overcorrect as a defense. And then what happens is those broken plays where he tucks it and runs early, it becomes broken plays where he gets outside, contains, keeps his eyes downfield, hits Omeka Blake for a deep shot. We lose that competitive play on the back end when the ball's in the air. Then you set up Arkansas with 1st and 10 going in, and it's a bad way to live if you're A&M. Momentum is so big in this game because I think the spot Arkansas is in now, they are looking for a reason to believe. If they get a couple plays like that early and it sets that whole thing up for Arkansas offensively, that's the belief you need. That is the spark that could fan into a flame that turns into a forest fire in the fourth quarter. You're sweating this thing out if you're an A&M fan. Here's my take on this, though. Even if there's a couple of back and forth plays there where Taylor Green gets his downfield, Omega Blake has a good day at the office, I just think this A&M team is too mature. I really do. And if you're an A&M fan, you're not used to hearing that about your football team. Because there's a phrase now in A&M communities on message boards called battered Aggie syndrome. What does that mean? It means high expectations, either before the year, during the year, then you get to what you were at a year ago, where all you got to do is win out and you're in the college football playoff. Doesn't happen that way. Stumble a little bit on the road. Well, hey, we still got a shot against Texas. Win that game. We're in the SEC championship. Lose that game. Battered Aggie syndrome shows back up. I don't think that's this A&M team, man. I really don't. I think Marcel Reed and what you've seen from him to this point is maturity. I think they've handled success well. They handled the Notre Dame win and then came back home and won in a semi-ugly way when it wasn't perfect against Auburn. They weren't great in the first half against Mississippi State, responded well, and did their thing in that second half to make that thing boring. No Le'Veon Moss absolutely hurts your soul if you're an A&M fan. But I think Reuben Owens can give you a similar level of production and get into more of a rhythm in this spot to where I still feel like the run game will be there. I think the offensive downfield firepower will be there. So for all those reasons, tied together with the Mike Elko maturity here of this football team, what we've seen from them, A&M's too versatile. I think we see maybe not a fix-all, maybe not a cure per se just yet with battered Aggie syndrome, but you get a couple of CCs of the antidote, and you see A&M take a step towards curing battered Aggie syndrome in this game. I think A&M wins. I don't feel great about the number, to be real with y'all. I feel a lot better about the under in this game. It's under, I believe, 61.5 is the total right now, depending on how that's moving over at BetMGM. But I will take A&M to win. I will take them to cover. I'll go ahead and say final score, A&M 31, Arkansas 20. A&M gets it done on the road, another mature win by the Aggies. And if you want to be there, again, game time, making sure you get that done when you use code HARDCOUNT. So that's kind of one of the quieter, great games of this coming weekend. Make sure you're tuned into that one. But I know a lot of y'all will be tuned into the game that is going down betwixt the hedges. It's Georgia. It's Ole Miss. It's College Game Day. Our very own Zach Herbstreit will be in attendance. Subscribe to Off Script. A lot of boots on the ground content over there. Make sure you're locked in for that. But we do this for a lot of different games because I think it's important for our audience specifically. You can get the headline takes anywhere, dude. I'm not calling out different networks or broadcast crews or whatever, but there's a lot of people saying the flyover stuff, saying the boilerplate stuff. What we're trying to do is, yes, we want to address those. We want to speak to the obvious here, but we also want to take it a step further and talk about what's being missed, what's not being said in relation to Georgia and Ole Miss in this quite frankly, it's going to be a blockbuster game. It's a revenge game here for Georgia, which is being talked about a lot. People are also talking a lot about Gunnar Stockton and how he's doing running the Georgia system and the way that he has done enough in Mike Bobo's offense to get Georgia where they're at right now. Y'all, as much as that's important, I don't think we're acknowledging nearly enough that Georgia's just going to line it up and run the freaking rock this weekend. They are. And I told you in our preview, some of this is just me accounting for the science of Georgia's offense and Ole Miss's defense. Ole Miss, they were great last year on the defensive line, running that three-down lineman scheme. Why? Because they had big Walter Nolan in the middle, had J.J. Pegues. You had a lot of big USDA-approved sirloin kind of bodies up front that you were able to have three-down linemen and then fly up with that second and third level of the defense and stop the run semi-effectively. Y'all, that's not this year for Ole Miss. Not saying it can't eventually evolve into that, but seeing what I've seen Georgia do to other defenses, the freaking take your heart out of your chest drive they had against Tennessee to open that second half, the way they ran the football against Alabama, that to me says everything I need to know about Georgia offensively going into this game. Gunnar Stockton, you can't give the game away. Game manager is such an ugly phrase when you talk about quarterbacks because it makes it sound like they're just out there riding shotgun. But, just make the throws, Gunnar Stockton. Be great on the ground, Gunnar Stockton. Be the emotional thermostat, Gunnar Stockton. But Georgia, they're going to turn around and hand the football to their backs consistently and make this thing a pound puppy kind of game with how they run the football. 55% run is how Georgia operates. I expect that number to hold, and I expect that to be Georgia's game plan in this spot. So Gunnar Stockton, big part of this game. There's no way to talk about a quarterback in an SEC game where he's not important, but it's about Georgia running the football. It's about the matchup they have on the line of scrimmage that I think will ultimately give them the advantage in this spot. Now, I say that. We account for that. I don't think we're accounting enough for how bad Georgia's secondary is. And the thing that's being missed with Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin with a backup quarterback last year put together a Mona Lisa of a drive. They had me believing big time in Austin Simmons. And who's to say Austin Simmons, if Trinidad Chambliss doesn't play how he plays when Austin Simmons gets a little bit hurt, doesn't still come into this game being touted the way he was touted at SEC Media Days as being quietly maybe one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. I digress. This over-under total for the game tells us everything that we need to know about what Ole Miss can be offensively. The total is 54.5. 54.5. Trinidad Chambliss has to be licking his chops looking at Georgia secondary. Georgia secondary gave up 371 against Tennessee, gave up 276 against Bama through the air. Not great. Not great. And so if I'm Trinidad Chambliss, I've gone for over 300 yards 3 of my last 4 outings. Surprisingly, Washington State was that one game he did not go for 300 yards. I'm saying, okay, listen, I know I played D2 a year ago, but if that's the Georgia secondary I'm looking at here, I don't see Keely Ringo out there. Right? I don't think we're going to have all that much trouble throwing the football downfield. So to put another point on that, Georgia has not been great getting after the quarterback this year. And even if they were, the Trinidad Chambliss mobility factor here would also be an answer to that. So my point in all this is I think Ole Miss, as much as I think Georgia's going to control this game and win this game, Ole Miss and what they could do making this thing interesting, if you push it into a situation, if you're Trinidad Chambliss, where Gunnar Stockton has to answer you and they have to start throwing the football more than they would like to, this thing gets weird. This thing gets very, very weird. So we're going to do our superlatives later in the show, and Georgia-Ole Miss won't be my things could get weird game. But I tell you what, it's on the podium. It is absolutely on the podium. Anytime Lane Kiffin is calling the game, him and Coach Weiss, the offensive masterminds there, I'm just saying I've seen Georgia start slow too many times, and I've seen Lane Kiffin dial up a winning game plan too many times to just turn a blind eye and say, Georgia -7, easy money. I wouldn't touch that number, quite frankly. The over, honestly, in this game is more intriguing to me. But with that being said, what's being missed, Georgia, Gunnar Stockton's a headline for sure. How they're going to run the football, though, that's the key to this game. And then Lane Kiffin and what he did with a backup quarterback last year in this game and how bad Georgia's secondary has been to this point and how awesome Trinidad Chambliss has been in this spot. Hold on tight. Hold on tight is all I can say. Those things are not being talked about nearly enough. Now we talked about them, so you can go tell your friends, hey, lock in a little bit here for this game. Here's the things you need to make sure you're taking advantage of if you're trying to bet it. Also important to take account for. So we gave you our playoff predictions on yesterday's show. I want to revisit, though, some of these more like not niche predictions, but more specific predictions relative to specific players and teams outside of the whole playoff discussion. One prediction I have for y'all, I had it in the preseason, but I'm kind of doubling down in a certain sense in the midseason predictions. I think Julian Sayin is about to cook here the second half of the year, man. I really do. Now, he's been efficient, and that's been a storyline for a lot of folks across college football. But we talk about Ohio State. What are we saying right now? That defense, man, is unreal. Defense is great, and that's 100% true. We shouldn't water down how good the defense has been and hype up how efficient Julian Sayin has been. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. But I do think when I look down the barrel here for what Julian Sayin and Ohio State has ahead of them, Julian Sayin just needs to be playing his best football in the game against Michigan and then into the Big Ten title game and the college football playoff. That's when you need the light bulb to be flashing for a one young Jedi, Julian Sayin Skywalker. But I look at what they have in front of them. Again, the defenses that they're going to play here, they're playing 3 teams in Wisconsin, Purdue, and Rutgers that are all ranked 100th or worse when it comes to defending yards per pass. Licking my chops, saying Jeremiah Smith, go deep. Carnell Tate, rev that engine. Make sure you're stretched in pregame because we're going yard all day long against those boys. And then UCLA, outside of Penn State, is the next best pass defense they're going to play this year. Penn State's a freaking thing to talk about in itself with what we don't know about that whole team emotionally. UCLA is in the 70s when it comes to defending yards per pass. So there is a long runway here for Julian Sayin to stretch your legs before that Michigan game. That's what I really see ahead of them now. Like the Penn State thing is kind of an outlier, like I already said, but I see a lot of opportunities for Julian Sayin to kind of ramp it up a little bit, rev the engine, have some high gear moments. So when we're playing our best football for Ohio State, we're playing the most meaningful games. That part of our offense is very much so available to us because that's where Ohio State gets scary, right? Where they got scary last year. Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith kind of got synced up. The pass game got synced up, and they just started bombing people. Like, Tennessee fans remember it well. They started just going yard multiple times a game, and that was how it was like, okay, I don't know how we're beating Ohio State. Because that defense is really freaking good. Newsflash, that defense a year later might be even better than what you saw in the college football playoff run. That's frightening. Now, what makes Julian Sayin so impressive to me right now is the level he's playing at, but he's doing it with, I don't want to say no run game because that's not true at all. They've been great on the ground for the most part, but he's doing it with a brand new running back room. Definitely not Quinshon Judkins or Trevion Henderson lined up behind him. Now, C.J. Donaldson's been awesome. Bo Jackson's been awesome. I'm not talking down on them. I'm just trying to compare what he's done to this point in the year relative to what Will Howard did at this point a year ago. Like, through 6 games, Will Howard had thrown for right around 1,600 yards, 1,574. Julian Sayin has 100 yards less on 12 attempts. Not bad. This time last year, Will Howard had thrown for 14 touchdowns. Right now, Julian Sayin has 15 touchdowns. Okay. This time last year, Will Howard had a completion percentage of like 73.5%. Really good. Right now, Julian Sayin is at 78.5%. And again, he does not have the established running back room that Will Howard had behind him. He does not have the run game that Chip Kelly was dialing up for him that Will Howard had behind him. So what I'm trying to say is, remember how Will Howard flipped the switch in that second half and just became a different player, especially in the college football playoff? That's what I think Julian Sayin is about to do. And if Julian Sayin and this Ohio State offense develops and maybe accentuates that explosive gear that they already have personnel-wise, you don't question Jeremiah Smith, or you shouldn't at least if you're a person with a brain. You don't question Carnell Tate. You don't question Ennis. If they add that like haymaker element to the offense, it's going to be like when Derek Zoolander learns to turn left. Okay, you got that Magnum Blue Steel look. When they got that Magnum Blue Steel offense, does the Ohio State attack? Like, it's going to be game, set, match. Nobody at that point is beating Ohio State. The reason being, nobody can score enough to match Ohio State if they got that downfield passing attack. I think Joel Klatt came out and said it. He's got like a handful of teams that he believes could score 20 on Ohio State. If Ohio State's got a deep passing game that they're consistently going to and activating because of Julian Sayin getting comfortable down the stretch here, Ohio State's going to score a lot more than 20 here during the months of November and December and into January for the Buckeyes. That is why I picked them to win the national championship in our 2.0 predictions of the college football playoff bracket. Ohio State might just do what they did last year, where they play their best football at the right time, and a big reason why their quarterback, Julian Sayin, is going to have a little bit of a runway to get to play his football at the most important time here with the games against Wisconsin, Purdue, Rutgers, UCLA. Penn State, its own thing, sure, but again, I think he's about to cook, and I think he will be one of the best quarterbacks in college football during the months of December, January, hopefully into November, and that's all you need if you're the Buckeyes to go where you want to go. Now, speaking of those later months of the season, we've said this a lot of times on this show when we talk about the Heisman. We try not to talk too much Heisman because, one, y'all don't seem to care about it. Two, it's a game, or it's an award rather that's won in games played in November. But I got to say this out loud because I think it needs to be mentioned. Prediction: Ruben Bain is going to be a Heisman finalist. Ruben Bain, defensive lineman from Miami. Right now, y'all, this is ridiculous. He is the leading tackler for the Miami defense. As a D lineman, 26 tackles. Usually you have a linebacker lead your team in tackles, a safety if you got to rally up and play run support or you're just not that great up front. Ruben Bain is wrecking shop right now, and it's been a little bit more quiet around the Heisman buzz for him. You see him in our Heisman rankings every single week over on the On3 socials. He's floating around the top 10. Shout out Andy Staples. He was the first one to put him on his Heisman top 10, so Andy's kind of the one leading the charge here that I'm definitely on board with right now. To win the Heisman as a defensive player, it's kind of a different standard. Like, we talk about quarterbacks playing their best ball in November and, having a great showing in a Heisman moment on a conference title stage or a rivalry weekend stage. To be considered for the Heisman as a defensive player, you just got to kind of be that annoying fly that's buzzing around the Heisman voters' face every week of the college football season, really. Got to be consistent. Ruben Bain started that buzz for himself with the performance he had against Notre Dame. He's sacking C.J. Carr. He's getting an interception. Right away, it was like, oh, that dude's different. Maybe we should account for him as being one of the best players in college football, regardless of what position he's playing. And then he's continued that so far, again, being the leading tackler for Miami as a defense, which has been awesome. But here's why I think he's about to really shoot up these Heisman rankings, if you will. I personally will have him a lot higher if he does what I think he's going to do these next few weeks. Miami's about to play a couple of offensive lines that are just ripe fruit for the picking for a one Ruben Bain. The sack rate of the teams they have left to play are just abysmal. Louisville, Friday night this week, ranked 105th when it comes to sack rate. Ruben Bain, about to just destroy them. Stanford, 120th in college football when it comes to sack rate. Syracuse, not bad, 85th. Not bad relative to Stanford being at 120. NC State, 81st. Like, the best team they're going to play when it comes to sack rate is a mobile quarterback in Kevin Jennings and SMU, and they're 55th in college football. Like, Virginia Tech, 112th. Pitt, 110th. Ruben Bain is about to myrtleize these guys, y'all. Like, I'm talking about stuffing the stat sheet. They're going to be, a freaking ant with a sledgehammer in this situation. It's not going to be pretty. So what I'm expecting is Ruben Bain to, what I just said, destroy these offensive lines. 2, probably stuff the stat sheet pretty well. A couple of multi-sack games on deck for my guy. You're going to see it over an elongated period of time. You're going to see it in the month of November because he's built up this Heisman campaign to really take off in the month of November. But, again, the sack rate teams he's going to play in Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt, SMU is the first game in November. But outside of that, there's no team better than 85th in college football protecting their quarterback. You got to protect your quarterback against, even if they double team him, I still think he's going to eat greedy. Now, to put the cherry on top here, I think Miami wants to get him the Heisman Trophy. At the very least, I know they want to get him to New York City. We had Mario Cristobal on this show, and he was pretty straight up like, yeah, when we got a guy who's in position for some postseason accolades, we're going to do all we can to help them achieve those accolades. He said on the Pat McAfee show, if we got the Heisman conversation going here in the month of November, we're going to get Ruben Bain some plays on offense. So I'm just saying now, be very alert to these games in November where they're playing Virginia Tech. They're up by 3 touchdowns. Ruben Bain lined up at running back maybe. Give him the rock on the 2-yard line. Let him punch it in. And I love it too whenever guys in the month of November just like make it pretty clear they want the Heisman Trophy. A little Heisman pose. Just saying like, hey, just so you know, I want that thing. Hey, voters, I know y'all just check stats and highlights, but check the highlights and see me hit this Heisman pose. Put me on your ballot. I think that's in the cards. I think that is very much so in the cards. So it's production, it's runway, it's the position he's put himself in already with the way that he's played to this point. Ruben Bain, mark my words, I don't know if he wins the Heisman, but he will be in New York City in that green room or in that theater, whatever it is, when they announce the Heisman Trophy winner. I don't know if it'll be Ruben Bain, but he is absolutely at this point deserving of being in that conversation. And when he does what he does in the month of November against these poor offensive lines, it's going to be a conversation that is ramped up in a very real way, and the production will prove as much. Okay, so that's got to be we got to make sure that's said out loud. I don't think it's being said nearly enough when it comes to Ruben Bain and his Heisman candidacy. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about him as a Heisman guy, but in terms of what he's about to do with that runway, it's going to be nasty. It's going to be very nasty. Now, that's not being said enough, but you know what else isn't being said enough? How great a job Josh Heupel's done. Saying, JD, we talk about Josh Heupel a lot. What do you mean? He's got Tennessee in a good spot to have a go at another college football playoff berth. Now, they got to play Oklahoma. You know, they got to handle Vandy, which is a new thing for SEC teams to think about when they look at their schedule. But think about the conversation we were having when Nico Iamaleava decided to transfer away from Tennessee. And then they get Joey Aguilar from UCLA. G5 Joey Aguilar had not played a snap of Power 4 football, much less in the SEC. We were all saying, man, if they could win 9 games, build Josh Heupel a statue. A lot of Tennessee fans that I know, I was talking to them, talking about punting on this season to a certain extent. Not in the sense that you're down to not make a bowl game, but the idea was, hey, good for Coach Heupel standing his ground and setting a precedent. Whatever we go this season, we go. But if we can win 9 games, I mean, he's the freaking man. Build him a statue. Guess what now? Tennessee, I think, is poised to win at least 9 games. That's my take on this. We'll unpack all that right now. Before we do that, though, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Tennessee fans have had a lot of y'all get dialed into this show, and we appreciate you for it. Y'all are one of the first fan bases to jump on the bandwagon when this show got to On3. So if you're not yet subscribed, love to have y'all. Appreciate y'all in advance for being locked in. Let's just go ahead and compare what Josh Heupel has allowed Joey Aguilar to do without spring practice relative to what Nico did a year ago. Well, Nico last year threw for 19 touchdowns. That is including the college football playoff game. Right now, at the halfway point in the college football season, Joey Aguilar has thrown 14 touchdowns. Okay, so there's some runway there, Joey, to blow that number out of the water. I'm not knocking Nico. Those are just what the numbers say. Nico last year finished 8th in the SEC in passing. Currently, Tennessee has the number 1 passing offense when it comes to yards. And oh, by the way, Josh Heupel also, just for good measure, has said, no, we're going to make sure we still run the football at the best level in the SEC. They are currently leading the SEC in rushing yards. That's after they lost their leader in Cooper Mays, and they lost the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in Dylan Sampson. So as much as you want to give credit to Josh Heupel for Joey Aguilar and his success, and that definitely deserves to be the case, look at the way that he's just re-racked the offense in general and improved the production from what they had a year ago, from a team that made the college football playoff. Now, some of this, and we said it last year, I'll say it again, some of this is the way he's calling it relative to the defense that he has now. Last year, that defense, top 10, top 5 in college football. Right now, Tennessee is a little bit dinged up on the defensive side. Secondary has been beaten up. Defensive line hasn't been what it was last year. That happens when you lose a first-round pick in James Pierce. So I'm not knocking Tennessee. I'm just making sure we understand the shape-shifting ability of Josh Heupel to be able to be explosive and score points the way they have. This was always what he could do. Now, I think he's able to do it better because of Joey Aguilar and his personality with, like, fudge it. Mike Matthews down there somewhere. Eyes closed. Chris Brazzell, go get it. And it's not quite that careless, but it's the same kind of approach that I think you need to run Josh Heupel's system effectively and push the ball vertical. Yes, I'm being tongue-in-cheek when I say close your eyes and Chris Brazzell's down there, but the point stands. Nico wasn't doing that. Nico a little bit careful with the football, and then when he would pull the trigger, they weren't connecting on those deep passes, which was a massive missing ingredient from Josh Heupel's offense and what they did in 2022 and why you're seeing them be successful right now. So let's zoom out a little bit here. This is the complementary football that we all signed up for with Josh Heupel after that 2022 season. Now, Joe Milton was not terrible, but it wasn't the product you thought you'd get. Nico, again, not terrible, made the college football playoff, won 10 games, but not the product you thought you'd get. I think that over the course of the next however many years that Josh Heupel's in Knoxville, I think for a very, very long time, I think your offense will be a lot closer to this than it was the last couple of years. Okay? Like, I think what you have now at quarterback and the process you got to have this guy at quarterback, seeing Joey Aguilar miss spring practice, then step into this spot and look awesome. Yes, you give Joey Aguilar a ton of credit. You give just as much credit to Josh Heupel and the way he's calling it and the way that he elevated Joey Aguilar. So my point in all this is, I think in modern college football, especially the SEC, we're going to have a lot of really wide open years. I don't think you're going to see a lot of teams go unscathed throughout the SEC. It's going to be about getting your at-bats in the SEC. Hey, we got a team this year. We got a quarterback this year. Yeah, it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet for everybody. We're going to 9 conference games. But we feel good about our quarterback. We feel good about our offense. In most games we play, we got an at-bat here. This is an at-bat kind of year for us if we're Tennessee. And even if we're not competing for the conference title, we're good enough to be a team that can get into the college football playoff, especially when they expand this thing to like 37 teams, whatever they're going to here in the future. Different conversation for a different time. Joey Aguilar and what he's done this year is a testament to Josh Heupel's ability to put quarterbacks in position to be successful. And I wonder a little bit, we're talking pre-show, myself and Caden Smith, I wonder a little bit if Joey Aguilar and his success from the transfer portal, getting a proven commodity from the portal, I wonder if at all, maybe Tennessee and Coach Heupel say, that worked out pretty well. I think it was like darn near half the teams in the college football playoff a year ago had a portal quarterback. Hendon Hooker, we got him from the portal. I wonder if the success with the portal quarterback doesn't maybe improve the appetite just a touch of what Tennessee wants to be going forward at the quarterback position. I'm not speaking anything less of George McIntyre or throwing any shade at Jake Merklinger. I'm just begging the question. Is it maybe a new route you consider more closely because of the success of Joey Aguilar? Because if Josh Heupel can do that with a quarterback that played at the G5 level and never had a snap in the SEC, and he's out here snapping like that, leading the SEC in passing, top 3 in America in points per game, I think that should be considered a little bit more closely when it comes to future teams. So Josh Heupel, say what you want about this year and re-racking expectations of, well, now we got to make the playoff. Now can we beat Bama and get to 10-2 again? Like, that's all fair conversation to have now. But before the year, it was like, can we win 9 games? 8 feels like a fair number. Josh Heupel did it, man. If you're going to build a statue for 9 games, get the cement out, get the copper out, whatever you're building that statue with, because he has, in fact, elevated this offense to be in a better spot than where it was a year ago and did it with a quarterback that missed spring practice and hadn't played in the SEC ever. It is what it is. Hey, if you're a Tennessee fan, you probably are within driving distance of Nashville, like to think. Good news for you. The Titans playing the Pats this weekend, and the Whataburger truck is going to be there. So I would recommend October 19th, this Sunday, get out there, Tennessee versus New England, whether you're cheering for the Titans or whether you're rolling with the Patriots. More power to you. Make sure you drop by the Whataburger truck during your tailgate when you're at the game. Get ready to bring home the W early with a hot, fresh Whataburger in hand, and no matter who comes out on top, you take your team to Whataburger, you know you feel like a winner with food made fresh and hot every time, 24/7. See you at the game. See you at the Whataburger. For our Vols and Titans fans, make sure you're locked in at that truck. It'll be a good time. Make sure you're there. Speaking of a good time, and we have a good time on this show every single day, quite frankly, on this show, but every single Thursday, man. Put our nose to the side, look up at this slate. We know it's going to be awesome. It's an urgency Saturday, and we kind of give an all-encompassing view of this slate with a couple different categories with our pre-week 8 of the college football season superlatives. Okay, so to break it all down, you know him, you love him. He's your mom's favorite, probably your girlfriend's favorite too. The truth hurts, but it is what it is. Favorite producer in the world. It's our very own Cato. Legally, he's Caden Smith, but he's Cato on this show. Cato, it's another good week, man. How we living?
We are spoiled as college football fans, and I'm spoiled the way you've just been complimenting me this week, but nonetheless appreciative over here.
Facts. CTS, not X. Facts. I mean, it's just I call it as I see it, man. I got a lot of people hitting me up saying, "Hey, is Cato?" I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't shoot the message. I just what's being said. We got a number of categories to get through, though, brother. Upset watch this week. Always lurking. It's always somewhere. Hey, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but SMU plus 9.5 at Clemson. We sure Clemson's good, dude? That's one that I'm watching closely. Mobile quarterback. I don't know if Tyler from Spartanburg has called Dabo's personal number in a minute. That's the one for me I'm looking at closely, brother. If I had to pick an upset, SMU, at least to cover that number, feels kind of spicy.
Very spicy. I have that in another category, actually. But
oh, interesting. Okay.
You know me. I've been talking about it all week. I'm not quite sure Michigan's better than Washington. I love Washington going to Michigan. They're getting 5.5, according to BetMGM. I think if you had to draft offensive players in this game, you're taking a lot of guys on Washington before you're taking Michigan. I love Damon Williams and what he can do with his legs, coming off a great game against Rutgers, Denzel Boston, Jonah Coleman. Like, they're a well-oiled machine on offense, and I think Michigan, Bryce Underwood still looked a little green in that USC game, didn't look quite himself. We don't know if Justin Haynes is going to be in the lineup. I think the home field could help him for sure. A motivated Michigan coming off of a loss on the West Coast could hurt him. But to me, man, Washington is probably the most underrated team in the country. I think they win this game. It's on and popping as far as them potentially making the playoff out of the Big Ten now that Penn State's taking a couple steps back. I like that one. And I like kind of South Carolina as well. I'm going back to the well with them at another 5.5 at home against an Oklahoma team that looked shaky, didn't touch the paint against Texas. I don't know how John Mateer's hand is feeling, and I think if there was a time to bet against the Sooners, it would be right now, just given what we saw from them recently. And I don't know how much better that hand has gotten between last week at Red River and now this week at Willie B. So those are my two right now. But Washington, you can see the board, man. I have the Huskies. I think they win this one.
It's not a bad pick at all. And it's funny that you have something on SMU Clemson later. I have something on Washington Michigan later. I wonder if we're
a little Freaky Friday
synced up there. Yeah, a little Lindsay Lohan. And what's the other actress? What's her name? She's in The Bear. She's awesome. The mother in Freaky Friday. She's great, though. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but it does, because you know me. I love my movies and shows. And
you are dialed in the
I'm
shows.
blanking right now
in the cinema.
Name,
but it's that kind of vibe. It's that kind of vibe, I guess, is the point. Hey, I don't think that the line is all that great in this potential upset, but optically, listen, I haven't had a feel on Duke all year. I've bet them twice and left empty-handed both times. But, dude, Georgia Tech's got to go to Durham. Just optically speaking, a top 12 Georgia Tech team that's got playoff on their mind, and they got to go play Darian Mensah and feisty Manny Diaz. That could be one that just, again, optically would be a little bit upset-ish to watch.
The ACC is very frisky for sure. I have that again. Like we're hitting categories that I'm going to hit later.
Just check
in what you're saying right now.
Just pepper a little bit.
We'll rehash a lot of this.
Hey, how about things could get weird, Cato? Which one are you watching there? I want you to go first there and tell the people what you got on your mind in terms of what you're watching that could be a little bit, I don't know, it just makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, so like you've talked about before for your upset watch, I have Georgia Tech and Duke down for this one, and I have SMU and Clemson down for this one.
Okay.
Just two very weird spots, I think, right now. Duke favored despite being the team that is not ranked in this matchup is weird. I think Duke has not yet hit their ceiling this year. They're a good team. They have a really good quarterback, but they shoot themselves in the foot. They don't always play up to their potential. At home, get fired up to potentially knocked off a ranked team. I could see them doing it in that game, just getting weird. And then same with SMU and Clemson. This is a rematch of the ACC title game, but both of these teams just have all of the wind out of their sails right now. SMU's losses are very close, and they're not as bad, I think, as people might think, just because they haven't been talked about as much. Clemson, congrats, you finally got on the winning side of things, but those are two of the three teams in the ACC that have 0 ACC wins right now with their wins over Boston College and North Carolina. So them being favored by 9.5 is just weird to me. I think SMU is going to play this game much closer, but my overall pick for this, from the games we haven't talked about yet, Vanderbilt hosting LSU. Vanderbilt favored despite being ranked lower than LSU. Very much a theme in these 2.5 at home. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is very healthy. I think Vanderbilt's still going to play with that chip on their shoulder per usual, and I think this one's just going to get weird. It feels weird already. A lot of these lines are weird to me. Weird lines, I think, result in weird games. So that's my 3-pack there. But the weirdest one for me is the Tigers coming to Nashville and West End and keeping it frisky with the Diego Pavia.
No, I think you're on the money with LSU Vandy, dude. I mean, I told the story yesterday, but we request a lower third with the game spread on there favoring Vanderbilt, and our designer was like, "You sure it's Vandy -2? You sure Vandy -2.5? The Vanderbilt that we've all come to know as the SEC doormat over the course of the last couple of years." We're like, "No, yeah, on West End, 11 a.m. kick." Just screams bizarre. And I'm here for that, dude. I mean, I know I picked LSU to be my national champion preseason. I'm still rolling with that in my heart. That could get very weird. So that's on the podium for me. I'm definitely there with you. Georgia Ole Miss, I already referred to it earlier. I think that has some weird ingredients. Georgia off a more emotionally draining win than probably it should have been when you go to Jordan-Hare, but you knew what it was when you signed up for that game in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Gunnar Stockton, if he has to match scores with Trinidad Chambliss, don't love that. Lane Kiffin calling the show, could be kind of weird. But weird to me, man, the Holy War, Utah, BYU, a quarterback that wears number 47 and his first name is another animal. Come on, bro. It's just rivalry fashion. Going to be a night game in Provo. I've never been to Provo, but heard weird things about Provo. All right, so I'll leave it at that. I'm just saying.
You were public enemy number one for BYU.
I hear things. I mean, coming off an overtime win over Arizona, congrats. I wish no ill on the Cougars of BYU, but I think that game will be a little bit weird. That's all I'm saying. Ranked matchup, be a lot of fun. I don't know. I think it'll get weird in the Holy War, man.
I'm excited for that one personally. It could get weird, yes, but I'm more excited about that. And again, hits another category for me as far as the excitement of that game. That's
be awesome.
Fitting.
I'm pumped. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I am excited. I'm not against the good folks out there in Provo. I think it's going to be a weird spot. That's all I'm saying.
I think the Georgia pick's good too because that has a history of recent weird. That game was weird last year. Weird weather, weird backup quarterbacks coming in. Very strange game. Weird to see Georgia get pushed around last year like that as well. We're not expecting that this year, but I think a history of weird is a good call for a superlative of a game that could get weird this year. Both those teams are coming off weird weeks too. 20-10 win for Georgia. Ole Miss on the ropes from a Pac-2 team in Washington State that's just been bad this year. Weird vibes, weird juju.
Weird vibes, man. Weird vibes. Hey, you know what's the best way though to offset some weird vibes, Cato?
I think I do.
I think you know where this is going. Wearing something durable but also comfortable. The good folks at Brunt, man, I've said it a couple times, but they're getting us right. The Omen boots, I'm going to pull it up here for those of y'all listening on podcasts. You're missing out. These things are nice. All right. Listen, your boy doesn't have big feet. Size 9.5. Okay, I got some little elf feet. It is what it is. I don't shy away from that. But these things fit like a glove. They're comfortable. They're durable. I keep saying this. I understand. Yard work is looking over my shoulder like the Grim Reaper. Maybe make me the Grim Reaper. I don't know. But it is what it is. And these things are going to make sure that I am ready to rock and roll for that honey-do list that I'm sure is inevitably around the corner. So, if you're like me, a little bit newer to the yard work game, with us now being in a rental home out of the apartment, you need something to get right. when you do the yard work, or maybe you just want to have something that makes you feel good out and about in the elements, snow, rain, sleet, doesn't matter. Brunt, make sure they got you covered. So, Brunt, they were tired of workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So, they built something better, boots that are insanely comfortable, and like I said, built for any job site. So, if you're listening on podcast or you're watching, hear this. You get $10 off at Brunt when you use code HARDCOUNT. So, go ahead, use that order at checkout, code HARDCOUNT, and whenever you get checked out over at Brunt.com, make sure that you let them know that you found out about them from our show. Again, code HARDCOUNT. Save yourself some money, $10 off when you use that code at checkout. BruntWorkwear.com. Use code HARDCOUNT. All right.
Great for standing on business.
Great for standing on business, which we're doing a lot this week, man. And you're standing on business with your Washington pick.
Yeah.
Which is a great one, and that's my must-see TV.
Okay.
Damon Williams, dude.
Must-see quarterback, yeah.
I mean, he gives me Tavon Austin vibes at quarterback. He tucks it, and I know Tavon Austin's a lofty comp, so I'm not saying he's Tavon Austin, but I am saying that when that dude gets around the corner, I don't know, I watched a dude named King Miller get nasty against that Michigan defense, and he was a backup running back. Damon Williams with his speed, a little misdirection here. I picked Michigan. I don't feel good about it. I will be glued to my television watching Damon Williams cut up like Cutco. People that sell you knives at your door, Damon Williams will be getting after it. He's must-see TV for me for a number of reasons, but him with the ball in his hands is absolutely sensational. Must-see television, Cato.
Noon cup of coffee game 2. Wake up, see Damon Williams. I saw him get a Kyler Murray comp as well.
Ooh.
Love that one as well. 400 yards in the air, 100 on the ground last week. Just an absolute stud.
Poor Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. My must-see, it's a little obvious. It's on the nose. I don't care about it because I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now since I've watched both these quarterbacks continue to elevate. Tennessee and Alabama, man. Like, you're talking about two of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, the two leaders in the SEC. Joey Aguilar, 1,680 yards right now, 14 touchdowns. Ty Simpson, 1,678, 16 touchdowns. I want to see just fireworks left and right. I don't want to see defense played in this game. I don't care. I want to see your worst defensive performance from the secondary, and that's coming from a guy that used to play in the secondary, because I want to see both of these quarterbacks sling it across the yard. I want the final score to be 54-52. Like, I'm pumped for this game. I can't wait for it. And to me, I have other ones on here, but they're just secondary to this matchup. I don't even want to touch on the other ones. There's a great Big 12 ball on. Love the Holdie War. Baylor's probably the most watchable team in the country, and they're going to TCU. That game will be awesome. But this one, man, the helmets are cool. USC, Notre Dame, cool. Rivalry. Give me the two quarterbacks right now that are looking like their arms are going to fall off at the end of games because they're just throwing it all across the yard. That's my pick, and I'm standing on it. Maybe in Brunt boots.
I would, and some Brunt freaking workwear boots, baby. I would love if we had comparisons. It won't happen, but I just saw the graphic this morning comparing Mahomes and Baker's stat lines when they met up, and Mahomes threw it 88 times.
That'd be sick.
If we get like the diet version of that, where Aguilar's slinging it and Ty Simpson's out there just hucking the ball, that would be, I'm with you, dude, must-see television. If you're a quarterback or you're a fan of quarterback play, that game is just teed up for you. Cato, Sicko's Hour, got a good one, man. Florida State going to Stanford, just going to be fun. Can you imagine if Florida State loses that? Like, that's kind of the one for me that I have circled here. Sort of a lighter Sicko's Hour. Sicko's Hour prime time, if you will.
Yeah, the Sicko's Hour collective has been kind of not providing the way they used to every so often. This is one of those weeks. Friday is a good night of all, though, so I think that's where we kind of get it made up for. Yeah, I mean, that's the only game on the slate that can get you maybe excited. Watch if Florida State can maybe get their first ACC win in over a calendar year, so I'll be tuned in on that one, but it's one of those ones where, okay, if they start to look like themselves, Stanford's not looking like a team that's focused on ball, maybe more so academics, then we can just call it an early night and get ready for the next day. But yeah, I'll have one eye on that one. Not on the Sicko's Hour Hall of Fame as far as some of the games we've talked about and watched this year. But nonetheless, Florida State, we'll see if they can do it.
It's going to get. I'm with you though. It's going to get real sick. I mean, if like Thomas Castellanos is out there and we see this. We see that roller coaster on fire heading downhill. That was, unfortunately, the way things went for him a year ago at Boston College and the way that it looked against Pitt. It wasn't like it was Tommy C's fault against Pitt, quite frankly. I mean, he played well enough. When you score over 30 points, like, you should feel good about your chances to win. But if Stanford, I don't know, get a little bit Captain Andrew Luckish out there, he's the GM, maybe puts together a little bit of an inspiring pregame speech for the boys. I don't know. Could be fun. But the fact that it's an ACC game is just hideous. But
who am I kidding? I took the Florida State under this year. Come on, Stanford. I'll be tuned in trees. Let's do it, Nerd Nation. We'll get it done.
Fear the
Frank
tree,
Reich,
man.
make it happen. Help me.
Fear the tree. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there. I didn't bet it per se, but I did take the preseason prediction for Florida State to be at 7-5, which I'm not rooting ill on the Noles, but I am rooting for my boy to cash in. So where does that leave us? You be the judge of that. But Cato, good stuff as always, man. Heck of a week. More content tomorrow, obviously, but heck of a week on the ones, the twos, and the microphone. And we appreciate y'all making the show what it is, man. I keep saying that, but I genuinely mean that. Across the board, our production, numbers-wise, views-wise, all that has been tremendous. That is not us. That is y'all. So from us to you, thank you for that. Excited for where this thing is going and excited for where y'all are going to take it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're only halfway through the season, and we're churning right now. We appreciate y'all for that. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We will see y'all.